Welcome back into Stay Tuned here. Joe, Brayden, Mike, we are back. Last episode, we talked about the state of DC Studios, and today we're going to be kind of doing the same thing, but with the state of Marvel Studios, mainly the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What is going on? What has been? Mainly kind of starting it off after Endgame. So kind of to introduce what I want to start with is that San Diego Comic-Con that we had back in, 2020 or 2019?
Something. It would have been 2019-ish.
Yeah, something like that. At San Diego Comic-Con, Kevin Feige revealed probably the biggest thing Marvel's ever revealed, which was Phase 4, which started with Spider-Man Far From Home and then ended with... Well,
everyone thinks that's true. Far From Home was the last release from the Infinity Saga. It closed out
but
the Infinity Saga.
It starts it.
And then that ended 2019 because they wanted to cut the years.
Yeah.
Nope. Everyone thinks so. And that's a big thing we're going to get into is misconception is a driving force in the common media right now.
But No Way Home would be a good start to a phase and a horrible end to a phase.
Well, it's kind of just in the middle because if you're taking away Far From Home, it started with WandaVision.
Yes.
So that kind of does, but kind of doesn't. It like sprinkles the seeds of the multiverse saga. But basically they announced Phase 4, Phase 5, Phase 6. It was Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. And they also announced the Fantastic Four. But Fantastic Four wasn't supposed to release until...
like 2 more years or something like
that. I feel like it was 27. But anyways.
Travis, so the timeline, please.
But it was also called something different. It was just like Fantastic Four. They didn't have a title for it. They didn't have.
It was just the 4. It was just the 4
logo
with like a circle around it, and it just looked like a bunch of like.
This was back when like the Fast and Furious 10 director was set to make the movie like 7 directors ago.
Right. So that's kind of what it all started with. My personal gripe with that is that they didn't announce phases 1, 2, and 3 like that.
No.
And then announcing 4, 5, and 6 the way they did, it wasn't the worst thing, but it really bit them in the butt down the line. And I think they learned from that.
Because they announced, 20 projects at least?
They announced a lot. I don't remember off the top of my head all of them, but
we don't even have dates or finished scripts for all the things they released back in 2020 or whenever that was.
Like they announced Blade during that.
Blade has been rewritten almost a double-digit amount of times
production
from start
hell?
to finish.
I don't even know.
Pre-production
hell. Like it can't get off the ground. So there's a lot of different stuff. My biggest thing with it is just like, and I guess my biggest thing with what Marvel has been lately is there has been so many different, I guess, plot lines that started at the end of different events. So, like, my main thing right now that I'm like, why haven't we talked about this? It's been 5 years, is at the end of WandaVision, White Vision just blasts out of nowhere, and we haven't seen, heard, mentioned nothing in 5 years.
And
that's
on that note, we were supposed because everyone was like, "Oh, he's going to be in the Armor Wars series because it was going to be him and War Machine." That was supposed to come out like one of the first things to come out. That still hasn't happened. It still doesn't. We don't know if it's happening. And then it was like, no, he's not going to be in that. He's going to be in Vision Quest, and now it's an untitled Vision series that may or may not be happening. We don't know. So, and they even commented on that in later projects that we'll get onto. They like specifically comment on him, and like nobody has any idea.
Yeah. So that's one of my things is just starting plot lines and not developing them like at all. I will say I kind of held that I went and watched Brave New World this past weekend. I know Brayden did. Yep. Mikey has not.
Mikey
he
needs
also
to
doesn't like
catch
going
up
to the theater
on
by
like
himself.
a solid year's worth of material.
That's very normal. It's a very normal thing to do. Actually, I couldn't tell you the last. I legitimately think the last Marvel project, last MCU project that I watched.
I can tell you right now, I'm looking at a list. You saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Before
I'm
that,
not really counting
you saw Guardians
Deadpool,
3.
Wolverine. Okay,
Didn't you
Guardians
watch
3.
Before
X-Men 97?
Guardians... No, I'm the only one who's seen
I
it.
think
No, I didn't watch the original X-Men show. So that's why
Before Guardians 3, you didn't go to theaters until
I think it was
Wakanda
Quantumania.
Forever. No, you saw Quantumania, so that was the last one before that.
Yeah.
So
It was Quantumania and then Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I'm not...
You've seen the majority of the phase we're in.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine mostly because I like the Deadpool movies. That's it. You know, I wouldn't really count that as an MCU film. I mean, just kind of
it is now according to Disney Plus.
Well, yeah, no, I get that.
So,
what I'm
and
saying
we'll get into
is,
that
like,
later.
I mean, I feel like it doesn't really fit with the MCU when I'm referring to what was the last MCU movie.
No, that's understandable.
So, and
that's
I'll
my
be
biggest gripe.
I haven't really been impressed with any of the Marvel projects recently. I'm not really looking forward to any of the new ones either, other than Doomsday and Secret Wars. I think are the two that I'm actually looking forward to.
And so that's something that we want to mention. Like when this thing started, the first 3 projects we got out of the multiverse saga were WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki. WandaVision was great. We all forgot about that. Loki was great. We all forgot about that.
Yeah.
We liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We understand it wasn't very good, mostly because the villain was horribly written.
I was going to say, I think literally everything other than the whatever they call
villain,
themselves,
it was a decent show.
The villain in that group, everything other than that was good in my opinion.
It made no sense why
great,
they tried to
it was
make
good.
us empathetic for literal terrorists.
My biggest frustration with that show was everyone was when the show first came out, everyone was going on how much they hated John Walker. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like,
people are still aggressively up in arms against John Walker, and I'm like, I don't understand why.
I don't understand why everyone hates John Walker. I think he's a great. I think he was honestly the best character in that show. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think that
not a crazy thing to say.
No,
you know, and everyone's going on about how much they hate him. Like he's not the villain, guys.
Everything he did in that show was justified.
Terrorists, you know, and they'll go, "Oh, he killed someone with Cap's shield. That's not cool." You know, I'm like, Cap killed Nazis, guys. Okay,
Cap killed many people with that shield.
He killed a lot of people himself. Okay, and sure, you can make an argument that they're not nearly as bad as Nazis, but terrorism is.
If anything, it wasn't
people.
as brutal and as necessary.
No, but but we have to remember, he just watched his friend get brutally murdered in front of them, and that was the first thing he did. Literally everything in the show this guy did was perfectly justified, and people hate just because it was another guy carrying the shield, which is something we need to get into.
His literal, his battle brother, was killed in front of him by this guy. So naturally, he kills the other guy. Let me tell you something. In all reality, we wouldn't have superheroes going after these generic-ass terrorists. They would just have operators go in and smoke them in the middle of the night.
These weren't generic. Remember, they were
they're
super
generic.
engineered.
No, they're generic.
They had the super serum.
The bullet will still kill them. Okay. What I'm getting at, though, is that everyone hated on John Walker, and I know they still do, but Brayden's come to the light of realizing, hey, maybe John Walker isn't that bad of a guy.
I didn't love him when the show started, but that's because they perceived him as the villain, and then by the time the show ended, I was like, wait, I've been wrong about this guy the whole time. It literally took until the last episode. But people to this day still aggressively hate this character.
The other thing...
which I think he's going to be one of the best parts of Thunderbolts when it comes out.
I completely agree. I think he's going to be a great part of one.
The other thing that I didn't like with everyone treating John Walker was people were like, oh well, he didn't deserve to be Captain America, and it's like, well, Sam gave the shield back to the U.S. government, who then gave it to the next primary
suitable
candidate,
option,
which was a guy who won the Medal of Honor. Okay,
yeah,
jumped on a grenade on 4 separate occasions. Okay, this guy was a literal war hero who. Yes, if given the super soldier serum in a better state of mind, I would say, would be just as good as Steve Rogers in the MCU, that is, because he's a lot different in the comics, but in the MCU, he would have been great. And yet everyone's acting like he's like this not worthy candidate. And it's like
that's why I think when Thunderbolts comes out, people are going to look at him a lot differently.
Right? Well, yeah, he put in the work in the military. You know, he had the same heart and drive in the U.S. military as Steve Rogers did. You know,
right?
So, and that's my frustration. Everyone's going on about how, you know, he's not a good fit. You know, he's not supposed to be Cap like Steve was. And
no one said he was joining the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
You know, because he's not that kind of Captain America. You know, and instead,
he's a soldier.
They would rather have.
That's all he is.
Exactly. You know.
The other part with that too is that I think a lot of people don't really remember what exactly the Sokovia Accords are and what they're supposed to do. A lot of people just remember it as, oh, superheroes are banned. Like they just think of it as like Civil War and the superheroes are banned like it's the Incredibles. No. Superheroes are banned to do like individualized work, like personal work, but they can work for the government. So like Captain America can be a hero. He just answers to the government. That's the point.
Surprisingly, they kind of explained it in that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show, which I'll get into a little bit later.
Well, they explained it in that, and then it's not really a spoiler, but they explained it a little bit more in
Brave New World. Basically,
so,
all they said was that any super able beings who wanted to do superhero stuff had to register with the government. They had to register like their name and abilities. That's all it was. And like obviously there's like the politics that go into that with like that's the whole point behind Civil War. Like and so people just forget about that.
I think people just mainly think, "Oh, there's no more superheroes." No. Like the Captain America thing was 100% done correctly. I think the Falcon and the Winter Soldier really just it's bad because of storytelling and
I didn't even think the story was that bad. I think the fact that they try to make us empathetic for like legitimate cold-hearted villains was the problem.
That's mainly So that's my gripe with that.
Following Loki. Oh, go ahead, Mikey, if you had something.
I was going to say the other huge gripe that I had with that show was the whole the Durmalage has jurisdiction where the Durmalage is. And
that was stupid.
That's not how jurisdiction works.
Right. Okay? That was stupid because they were still trying to like. They even mentioned this in Brave New World. Like Harrison Ford takes a shot. I don't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, spoilers. This whole episode is going to be spoilers, people.
If you're watching this, a lot of
the whole plot point behind Brave New World is that the big celestial that grew out of the earth in Eternals is a source for adamantium, the metal in Wolverine's claws. That's stronger than vibranium. Harrison Ford takes a shot at Wakanda in the movie and is like, we can all share this material from the Celestial because it's huge and has a lot of it, unlike that closed-off nation hoarding all of the vibranium from everybody. And it's like, they literally don't interact with anyone. So, like, them saying something, it was just stupid. It was so stupid.
It just, like, kind of bugs you because it's like...
Because they're supposed to be super smart people, and it made them look like a bunch of idiots who didn't understand how the world works.
That's Ross's character, so I'm glad that...
I was talking about the Dormilaje. It made them look stupid, when they said that, and it's like they're supposed to be like these smart people.
Well, and it's like, technically speaking, Wakanda, you guys have jurisdiction nowhere.
Because nobody knew you existed.
Yeah, you are not in any like treaty with any other nation. I mean, unless you want to make the argument.
Not until
they
Wakanda
don't rely
forever.
on anyone, and they don't.
No,
help
I mean
anyone.
because
they are an independent country.
In different worlds and different like comics or video games and stuff like that, Cap did fight part in the African theater during World War II, and he stumbled across Wakanda and was kind of friendly with the Black Panther
because he met like the original Black Panther or something.
That's where that video game is going to come in.
Yeah, however, in the MCU, that never happened.
Right. So a lot of people forget that. After Loki, we got Black Widow. Take it as you will. After that, we it was fine.
Meh. Yeah.
Which I think Mikey, I remember saying this after he saw it. I agreed with him. Movie would have been better if it came out after Civil War, but obviously
I think that's kind of the general consensus from social media.
Obviously, they couldn't do that. We got the What If season 1. I haven't watched past season 1.
I don't really care about What If in general. I don't think a lot of fans do.
Everybody's hating on it because for whatever reason, instead of making a bunch of one-shots, they decided to just make Captain Carter an overall character and like just keep showing up, and nobody wants to see that. And now she's like canonically the most powerful being in the multiverse or something, because she has like, it's like when you go on Instagram Reels and you see a guy with a Thanos glove and he's like, yeah, I got the Omnitrix and all the stones and the Lord of the Rings ring. Like that's basically what she is right now.
Yeah, I really wanted What If to just be literally like just
a bunch
give
of
me
one-offs.
one episode of what if, it was
like we were
Sorcerer
supposed to have
Supreme instead
Ghost Rider Samurai episode, and they canceled that for like just some random Captain Carter
like
thing.
the first season wasn't bad.
They had good ideas for the first season.
Yeah, like I like the What If What If Strange lost his heart, not his hands, or whatever it was.
That was a good one.
Like that's a good episode. That's it. Don't bring them up again.
Yeah.
The Marvel Zombies was decent.
Yeah,
which is another project that we have no news on. We were supposed to get Marvel Zombies like 4 years ago.
October.
Is it?
I have an issue.
We don't have a trailer or anything.
There's a lot of things we don't have a trailer.
I have an issue with what they decided to do with Ultron and like have him collect Infinity Stones from like different realities and then use them, and it's like, but the whole purpose is the fact that if you
he didn't collect stones from different realities.
But still, what I'm getting at is how he can use them in other realities. Okay,
that's an endless debate that you and I could go on for forever. Because we've had this debate many times.
But it's the whole purpose of like the stones. Marvel's always wanted to kind of keep them in check by going. The stones can only be used by a person from that universe within that universe.
And I always say this is a universe where the stones can work in any universe because it's the multiverse of endless possibilities, and then the conversation never ends.
No. Regardless, because the whole person, what if somebody just goes to another universe, collects those Infinity Stones because say everyone's dead, so they don't have to fight anyone. Like say Thanos just goes to another universe, like the Marvel Zombies universe per se, grabs those Infinity Stones, and then goes to another universe and snaps away half that universe. Marvel realized that would be pretty stupid, so that's why they bound the world by these rules, right?
But that was
sure, you can make
in the comics
argument.
Forever ago.
Well, yeah, you can make an argument that it's a separate omniverse. Therefore, the comics in the MCU have nothing to do with each other. The comic multiverse is a separate thing from the MCU multiverse. Okay, but if I'm not mistaken, didn't they like have some sort of like crossover kind of thing? Because
not that I'm
the
aware
MCU
of.
is not 616.
No, they can't make a decision on whether it's 616 or whether it's like 00000 something. They keep changing it. Yeah, no one's I don't think Kevin Feige actually ever gave a definitive answer.
I mean, they keep saying it's 616, but
then they do
solved
this in Doctor Strange. They in Multiverse of Madness. She said what universe it was. Didn't they say it was 616?
Yeah, they said 616.
No, they designated it as like.
Or did they designate it as like the 00001?
Well, yeah, that's what it's designated as, but then it's like the name to like notes is just 616.
I thought they solved this problem in Multiverse of Madness.
I don't remember. I'm going to be honest. The only time I saw Multiverse of Madness was when we saw it in theaters, and I never watched it again.
I need to rewatch it.
I will say that's my biggest problem, and probably something that I need to redo is that most of these projects that came after Endgame, I've only watched like once
in theaters.
So is MCU worth 199999 something
that
or
one.
616?
Yeah.
The frustration is though I'm getting whenever I look it up, I'm getting very
because nobody knows
contradictory answers as to if
nobody
they are the
knows.
same,
Kevin
if they are
Feige never
in the same multiverse or not, and that's the problem. If they're in the same multiverse, then what if cannot be canon in any way, shape, or form. If they are in separate multiverses, then yeah, it's fine. I think it's stupid, but it's fine. It makes sense.
I don't think what if matters because that's never going to touch the main timeline, so nobody cares.
No.
I get that it won't touch the same timeline. I just still have that frustration on that storytelling.
I think they just
breaking
don't give
your
a crap
own
about
rules
what if.
that you set.
I don't think. Kevin Feige didn't set those rules, so he's not breaking anything.
Well, you're still breaking the rules that have already been set.
That's like saying Zack
else.
Snyder broke rules from like the Adam West Batman universe. It doesn't matter.
No, because they're not the same.
That's what I'm saying. It's not the same.
It has nothing
to
do with each other.
Anyway, moving on. After What If, we got Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was a good movie.
Wasn't bad.
Do I like Awkwafina? I have never liked her in anything I've seen. Do I like
Isn't Awkwafina in
Shang-Chi?
Crazy Rich Asians?
Yes. I don't like her in Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay,
I like Crazy Rich Asians.
She's like the best person in Crazy Rich Asians.
No, she's not.
And I hate that movie.
The cousin that helps her in the wardrobe
I know you do.
is the best part of Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah. Again, this is another thing where they brought up a storyline in which they haven't really developed. It's kind of been developed, and there's been some fan theories on it, more than what White Vision's been, where at the end credit scene is what? Is Bruce Banner, who is Bruce Banner at this point.
He is Bruce Banner, because he's figured out gamma radiation.
Yeah, so he's Bruce Banner, and then what? Captain Marvel,
but she kind of dipped out, and Wong.
And Wong. And then they find out that there's a beacon inside the thing, and then they also kind of connect it to Kamala Khan. And so there's not like a whole lot developed there.
Well, because I think they're waiting for the second one, because the second one is allegedly going to introduce Iron Fist.
See, this is where I'm like...
we don't have a script for the second one.
Right now, they introduced the point. They haven't done anything with the point. At this point in like the phases, and again, maybe we shouldn't be comparing it to it, but in the Infinity Saga, it would have been addressed by now.
I think the big thing, and we'll get into this later, is they're trying to figure out who they want to bring into the closer circle and who they just want to like have exist.
Yeah. I think that's their main problem right now.
They have a lot of characters,
so many.
because like Moon Knight is never going to be a part of the Avengers, but they can have Moon Knight have his own story for like another season if they want, and he can show up in like another movie like a Shang-Chi that hasn't directly intertwined with the main story if they want, and it's not really going to affect anything.
I mean, he might be in Secret Wars.
That's what I'm saying. It's not really going to affect much, because they can still do a bunch of end credits of like when Nick Fury would just show up at the end of a movie and be like, I want you on my team. Like they can just do that if they want. They have done it already once. You wouldn't know. You haven't seen the movie, Mikey. Eternals came after, mixed reviews. I need to rewatch it. There were parts I liked and disliked.
Eternals?
Another part where
again another end credit scene that has led nowhere.
You haven't developed any of it. You bring in Harry Styles and what's his name, Patton Oswalt or something.
Horrible.
And Patton Oswalt and Kit Harington and Marshall Ali all in the end credits.
Yeah, all great things.
The main story
awesome
they have finally kind of tied in with the Celestial Head. I wonder if that movie was just made so they could figure out a way to get adamantium into the MCU. Like if that was the sole purpose of this movie.
I think it's the opposite way around. I think that they made the thing. They wanted to go in the Celestial route, but then they realized they couldn't. It's too big of a task. And that Eternals, since it did so poorly, they were like, how do we tie this in? How do we take this Celestial thing that's just sitting here, and how do we make it tie in? And then they go, adamantium.
Hey,
and
kudos to them for figuring that one out.
No, kudos, 100% kudos.
I'll give them that one at least. After this, Spider-Man No Way Home, we have some disagreements on this one. Fan service out the wazoo.
Okay.
Objectively, not the best movie, but it's so much fun to rewatch.
Yeah.
And we had been missing a good bit of fan service. Like this whole time, we'd gotten good projects, but like legitimate fan service of just like cool fights and like we don't need to pay attention to the story really and like cameos. We hadn't had this since Endgame.
They need to start to focus on this kind of movie where it takes the main character, everything that the main character does, focuses on that for the entirety of the film, and then there's one small little part, which is the multiverse part of it, that at a bigger scheme can be broken down, but in this movie it's only like somewhat minute. Right. And then at the end you start to kind of explain. Like they did that so well, and I feel like they did that awesome with John Watts, and he continued that. And I honestly think it's because he worked in the Infinity Saga.
Right.
And he understood
also
how
done
he had
the
to
past
make it work.
2 Spider-Man movies. He's been with the character. He's been with the same cast and crew.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's the problem that early movies had, where they were like, it's the problem that DC had early on, just cycling out directors because they're just looking for the cheapest guy who will work for you and put something out as fast as possible.
If you look at Phase 1, you have Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor, The Avengers. This is kind of the
Captain
same
America
way.
1.
and Captain America 1. It's kind of the same as Phase 4, as like everything was like good or bad. Nothing was like great until you got to No Way Home, and until you got to the Avengers, where it was awesome.
Everyone also forgets in Phase 1, 2 staple characters were recast. Edward Norton and Terrence Howard.
Yeah. So, I mean...
We didn't have the most memorable villains from those movies.
No, God,
we had Whiplash, and we had an Abomination who didn't make an appearance until very recently again. Yeah. So it's like... people get wrapped up in the good old days.
To be fair, though, I mean, you make the argument with Abomination, you know. Who's really supposed to be the villain of a standalone Hulk movie?
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Hulk.
But like people people just forget about that. Like they remember the good, and then when it's like, but you forgot about this, they just sweep it under the rug, so their argument is valid. Yeah. We got Hawkeye right after that. I liked Hawkeye.
I liked it.
So it was a good show.
And it's introduced things that have been addressed and has
all
been
the street level stuff that we needed to be introduced.
The only thing right now that I'm upset that we haven't gotten much about is where is Kate Bishop? Where is Hawkeye?
We got where is Kate Bishop and where's who?
Hawkeye. Clint.
Hawkeye is retired, remember? He's got his hearing loss. He wants out. He's done. He wants to go live with his family because he just was Ronin for 5 years and missed him. He wants out of the game completely.
Right. You're right. So
Kate
my
Bishop,
biggest
they
thing
kind
is
of explained in later projects.
Yeah, is it in the Marvels?
In the Marvels.
Yeah.
Which
anyways, continue.
So we got Moon Knight. Like I said, that's just a side story. It doesn't have to tie into anything. They kind of fumbled the bag at the end, but like the character was good, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to speed through the unimportant stuff.
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2. The movie was fine. We expected more. We expected more cameos and then hated our Marvel for not giving us too much. Like, it was fine.
I feel like I didn't like it because it was called Multiverse of Madness. And
they went to 2 different dimensions.
Yeah, and like I thought that there was going to be a lot more to it, so that was like kind of
But like, again, we built ourselves up to this. True. And then like we let our opinions get in the way.
I'll be honest with you.
Our expectations.
The only thing I like legitimately remember about that day was about going to see Multiverse of Madness. It wasn't even the movie itself. It was what happened to the events prior to the Multiverse of Madness. The 3 of us were supposed to go to dinner beforehand. Joy, you bailed because unfortunately you also had to bring your brother. And we went to Olive Garden because it's Brayden. You and I went to Olive Garden because your sister and her friends were supposed to go.
I do remember this.
And we had the smart plan of calling ahead. So we were actually walking in as they were walking out.
We leapfrogged my sister.
We were walking in as they were walking out, and she said, "You guys aren't going to get in." We're like, "We're being seated."
Yeah.
So, and then as we were going into the theater, we all had our tickets already.
And they hadn't bought them yet.
Was the only one
Andy hadn't bought one.
Andy didn't have one, so he was sitting in like 2 or 3 rows behind us with some bunch of randos.
Because we went on basically opening night. It was a packed theater.
We did. And I'll be honest with you, so to put in perspective what I actually remember of that movie, it's not even the movie itself. It was what led up to the movie.
How many end credit scenes? It had 2. It had the Bruce Campbell funny one, and then it had him opening his third eye, Clea slashing the rift in space and time. That one hasn't gone anywhere. People hate on the third eye. It just looks unnatural. The CGI wasn't bad. It just looks unnatural, so our brain tells us it's bad.
No, I think
Go back and relook at it. The CGI was not bad.
No, I have seen it. I'm like, the CGI looks weird.
It just looks weird because we're not used to there being an eyeball right in the middle.
I'm sure somewhere.
Because that's one of the movies that is made for IMAX in this, because they made a lot of IMAX special movies. Anyway, afterwards, Miss Marvel. This was kind of meant for like a half generation below us, but they forgot to advertise it as such.
Yeah.
It's a younger story. I like the character and I really like the actress. I think she's really funny as Miss Marvel.
I think she's good. I
think the story was stupid.
I feel like she's too early to bring in my opinion. I feel like they need to wait.
I don't hate it. I don't think she's too early to be in because of new news of projects we have coming out. When we were legitimately supposed to have a Young Avengers movie, I was like, there's no way. But now, it's not called the Young Avengers, it's called something else, and it's supposed to be the very younger group. It's called something like completely random. Like the name doesn't really make sense, but it's a TV show. It's supposed to be like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, and it's just like the really young people that they've been introducing, like getting to know each other. Like I'm sure they'll throw in a new character we haven't met yet to like, and it's supposed to be like a mini Young Avengers, and them just doing like a mini random mission that doesn't matter and building team chemistry or something like that. I don't really care.
All right, so
Thor: Love and Thunder, which Mikey and I saw twice in theaters because for some reason we didn't think it was bad the first time.
Yeah, because I remember going with you guys the first time.
Yeah,
we went without you the first time because you couldn't come.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it. Why is everyone hating on this movie? This isn't that bad. Went again. I think I brought a sibling. You brought your siblings, Joey.
Yeah.
And then Mikey and I walked out of it going, it still wasn't that bad. And then we like let it marinate.
No, and then I kept saying it was terrible. I kept saying it was terrible. I kept saying that it was honestly one of the worst things that came out as of recent. The only thing that wasn't bad was like gore.
Yes.
So the reason why I thought it wasn't that bad was because I had just watched a bunch of, other. I think the.
I hadn't even rewatched Ragnarok recently to be on the Taika Waititi train because, to put perspective, I don't like Taika Waititi as a director, so I don't understand. I don't understand why I walked out of this movie so high on it, not once but twice.
So the biggest thing that happened to it was because
I didn't think the story was good.
I think that the moments in the movie were just so ridiculous that it was funny, and because going into that movie. Right, the movie that I saw prior, the last MCU movie that I saw in theaters prior to this
was Doctor Strange.
Was Doctor Strange and Eternals, and both of those movies, in my opinion, were not good at all. I thought Eternals was horrible and Doctor Strange was just not.
But I still think both of those movies are better than Thor: Love and Thunder now.
No. I think Doctor Strange
is definitely better.
I hate Eternals. I think Eternals is the worst movie that MCU's ever made. But I think I really liked Gore, and I liked Christian Bale as Gore, which was a big reason why I liked the movie. I liked the ending, not the Children of Lightning. I liked the ending of the whole,
the Eternity ending?
Yeah, the Eternity ending.
Yeah, I like that.
That was a really good ending.
The first time I watched that movie, and I saw the kids using their stuffed animals and
I just didn't think anything of it somehow.
I thought it was hilarious. I was sitting there. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing. But the first time I watched it, I thought it was funny.
I think both times we saw this in theaters, we just turned our brains off and didn't realize we did so. And then because we both walked out of it twice and was like, it's not that bad. Oh, I don't know why everyone's hating on this.
Looking back at it, it's a bad movie.
It's terrible.
I would say it's probably the second worst MCU movie. But the only one that's worse than it is the Eternals.
It's down there. After that, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Joey, did you watch this the whole way through?
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched.
So I think this is where Mikey stopped paying attention to the MCU.
Yeah.
Because I know I explained the show to him.
I watched one episode.
Brayden, did you watch the entire thing?
Yes. Yes. I see what they were attempting. It's very clear what they wanted to do.
I think what got me was because going episode to episode, week by week.
It got worse.
That's what hurt it for me.
Like.
When you go back and you watch it, and you watch 1 through 8?
Yeah.
When you go back and watch 1 through 8 within 2 days, it's not bad. When you had to go through what we did, where watching one episode went to next week being very excited for the next, and then it being
I was on the high of
shaking ass on camera.
Yeah. That's where it seemingly got worse every single week, because I'm sitting here going, is Daredevil going to show up yet? Is Daredevil going to show up yet? That's the only reason I watched the show, because I love the Netflix series and I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil. And so I was sitting there going, is he going to show up yet? I think, I'm blanking on her name. Is it Tatiana Maslany?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think she's the worst person but I'm going to put this opinion out there in the world. It's the same deal with Brie Larson. I don't hate Brie Larson at Captain Marvel, but when you put her in front of a microphone at a press conference, she says some stuff that ticks me off.
Yeah.
And so that's what annoys me. The press, I remember the interviews going into this show were just ridiculous and just dooming it from the get-go.
I completely agree. I think the biggest thing also is because she kept going on the
her as an actress, and I don't hate the character that she made. I just think a lot of decisions that were made behind the scenes were just absolutely ridiculous from a story standpoint.
I didn't
And the final
hate
episode is horrible.
Oh yeah, final episode's terrible. The other thing that this also it brought up, and we haven't had anything since, is Hulk is now on a planet somewhere.
He came back
something.
at the end of the episode.
Oh, he
in
did?
the last episode, he came back with Scar because they were all at like the family picnic.
Right. That's right. Okay,
and so
then never mind. That was one gripe that I had.
Yeah, and so that happened. We don't know how he got there or how he got back. We don't know what happened while he was there. We literally know nothing about it. And so it was literally just me waiting for Daredevil to show up, and then he was there for an episode. But like the biggest thing is, I get what they were trying to do with. Everybody complains about the fourth wall break. Guess what? She did it before Deadpool in the comics. She was the first one to break the fourth wall.
Right.
My thing is, you can't do that in the movies. Look what you have done for what happens the next time she shows up and they're fighting Avengers Doomsday, and she's just looking at him and she's just dead into the camera as you have like a bunch of serious people behind her doing like you can't ever integrate her with another character. It seems like she must now stand alone because she breaks the fourth wall constantly. They
can't do it in action scenes. They're gonna have to do it in low points of the film, and it's gotta be done the right way.
I don't think when Deadpool eventually gets introduced, I don't think they can do it with him anymore. I think they have to stop because it's just ridiculous.
I don't know. I want them to stop, but also at the same time, I kind of want to see how they do it. So, I don't know.
But my thing is, it goes back to The Office, where you're, quote, jimming the camera, where, like, anytime somebody says something stupid, like, if they're all in a room and somebody says something relatively stupid, are we just going to see She-Hulk do this? And, like, just stare dead into the camera and then, like, go back to... Like, is that going to happen? Because I think it's ridiculous. Like, I don't mind them doing it in their individual projects. You can't integrate that with the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed a little bit there.
We were just talking about She-Hulk.
Fuck, give me a second. Shit, I forgot something. I had a move for the people who are actually physically watching this. Something came up and I had to move. That's fine. That's why I wasn't paying attention, because I actually had to mute myself and walk away there for a minute. I'm going to do it again, so I'll be right back.
Oh, good. Well, we can talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, though, because he has his opinions. He doesn't like it. The movie ended. All we need to know is Wakanda allegedly is opening themselves to the world. They say they're going to share vibranium. Namor's not dead like I thought he was. He just made a truce with the Queen, with Angela Bassett. And he's allegedly appearing in the MCU in the future at some point. I thought he died at the end. I don't remember him calling a truce, because I can't remember how the movie ended to save my life.
Yeah, I just remember the Queen dies and that there is a new T'Challa.
She doesn't die. She does. At the end of the movie.
I'm pretty confident she does.
I swear Angela Bassett is in the last scene of the movie, because that's when she's giving the UN press conference about like how they're going to open the borders, because I know Shuri doesn't do that.
Maybe she is.
I swear Angela Bassett makes it through the whole movie. I don't think anybody dies in that entire movie. I don't think any named character died in that movie.
Let me look it up. Is Queen from Black Panther? The biggest thing also is that they brought in the
Ironheart as well.
Recasted Black Panther. Very heavy quotation marks on that, because it's T'Challa's
they had
son,
no idea.
And it's young kid.
I don't think they're going to make him Black Panther. I think Shuri's going to be the Black Panther.
We're talking about T'Challa's son. I did not like that ending.
Yeah, she's dead.
What?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No,
what are we talking about now?
Angela Bassett's character.
Yeah.
Then who gave that speech at the end of the movie?
I don't know. Her death is a major turning point in the film, pushing Shuri to take on the mantle of Black Panther. She sacrifices herself to save a civilian, Riri Williams, during a conflict with Namor.
I don't remember that movie at all because how garbage it was.
I'm just upset because Angela Bassett's such a great actress, and I feel like her as the Queen could do so much more.
It feels like wasted potential.
Remember that happening.
Yeah, agreed.
I swear she made it to the end of the movie.
Another prime example, in my opinion.
No, because she speaks to the UN in the beginning of the movie. The ending of the movie,
and she does it again at the end, because in the beginning she's like, "We're Wakanda. We don't owe you jack." And then at some point in the movie, she goes back to them and she talks to the one guy who looks like the Doctor from First Avenger, and she's like, "Okay, we're gonna open our borders now and share with everybody." She does that at some point in the movie. I swear I'm going crazy right now. Maybe Shuri does it at the very end. Somebody does it.
I don't know. I gotta go rewatch. Anyways, yeah.
That's the end of Phase 4, and everybody forgets that.
Wait, wasn't Werewolf by Night in there?
Oh yeah, Werewolf by Night happened, but like I think that's MCU adjacent.
Werewolf by Night happened.
I liked that project. It was a fun side project.
It's a good project. I wish they would do kind of more stuff like that. They also had the Guardians holiday thing.
The Guardians holiday thing happened.
That was helpful to Guardians 3. I will give it that, because it introduced Cosmo, and it introduced that Quail
what is happening with the Guardians currently. Like they live in that city.
Are siblings, and that helps connect some things.
That's
in
a
3.
weird thing that they didn't need to throw in.
Well, I think they did. I think Gunn did it because he realized how much he needed, like what he wanted to do in 3, and then realized some of the things that needs to be established, and he was like, I don't know what to do, and so they just go.
I'll be honest. I completely forgot they made Mantis and Quill siblings.
Until you just said that, I forgot they did that, because it's just like a weird thing that it like doesn't feel like it matters.
Yeah,
and then they did the I Am Groot miniseries, which was just kind of like a little.
That's just like fun
it was
stuff.
A kid's thing. I didn't even watch them all. I think I watched one. I was like, I'm not watching the ads for this, because there were ads on Disney Plus at the time for some reason.
Okay.
And that is it. That is Phase 4 summarized. And everybody forgets that we're in the next section. This is where they start building it up. They had to reestablish the ground floor. Like, you can't start at the top of the mountain and then go any higher. You have to get back up Everest. Start off with Quantum Mania.
Horrible.
That, in my opinion, is the worst movie Marvel's ever made.
The only thing I can legitimately remember about that movie, too, is I saw it with some other friends. I saw it with both of Brayden's sisters and one of their other friends, because we were friends at the time. We were friends, and the only thing I can legitimately remember was Brayden, your sister, was taking pictures of like the of MODOK when his like helmet thing gets removed and we see his face, and it's very disturbing. And then sending it. In like the group chats, it was weird.
Did it look good?
Legitimately, the only thing I can remember.
No, it looked weird. Was it bad CGI? No, it just looked weird. Did everybody bitch and moan about if there wasn't a comic accurate MODOK, they were going to throw a fit? They did, and then guess what happened? They threw a fit anyway. Marvel fans are slowly devolving into Star Wars fans.
Star Wars is low key. Star Wars fans are low key becoming better. They're not getting as bad.
They're getting slightly better, but Marvel fans are devolving into
there's no new content.
Star Wars fan base where they complain and they complain, and then they get what they want, and then they complain about what they got. And this is exactly what you asked for.
I'm a fan.
Granted, that movie was terrible. It was supposed to just set up Kang, and then who knows? Which allegedly Marvel is considering bringing Jonathan Banks back as Kang, despite all the legal stuff that happened behind the scenes. They are allegedly thinking if they want to bring him back post Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Well, my frustration with the film...
Don't do it. The time is over. I think Loki Season 2 was the perfect cop-out to having to bring him back. With the way that show ended, you have no reason to bring Kang back into the universe. You perfectly wrote yourself an out, and you did it very well. Loki Season 2 was fantastic. So not only did you make a good project, you gave yourself an easy out on a massive problem you were facing behind the scenes.
Agreed.
I don't really... My big frustration with Quantum Mania was the fact that they build up Kang, right? They build up the Conqueror, as they really call him, to build this... to be this huge, very threatening villain, which he is, and then have him beaten by a bunch of ants.
But that was supposed to be the point of the end credit scene, where you had the Kang arena and you had all the Kangs, where it was supposed to be, this guy sucks, but we're going to bring in all of them, because that was supposed to be what Doomsday is. It was going to be the Kang invasion, But obviously that's all changed. So that end credit scene is gonna go nowhere.
But the thing is, we have, I mean, we know how powerful like Kang the Conqueror is in comics.
We know how powerful he can be. I had no problem with the way they dealt with him because of what was supposed to happen. Jonathan Banks screwed it up when the legal stuff happened.
Jonathan Majors.
Or Jonathan Banks is the old guy from Breaking Bad.
So my problem is they build up Kang the Conqueror in the MCU to be just like Kang in every other form of media where he's super powerful, only to have him beat by a bunch of ants. And then you go, here's all of these Kangs, and it's like...
But say that was the weakest one of all the Kangs.
But the Conqueror's supposed to be the most powerful of them all. They built him up to be the most powerful.
I could call you Mikey the Conqueror. It doesn't mean Jack.
No. What I'm saying though is even the way they acted when they said like he died or whatever, you know, they were like, he's the most powerful.
Because in that subatomic realm because in the subatomic realm that he ruled, he was the Conqueror.
But I'm talking about like the other Kangs. Like when they talked about him, the Conqueror, they act like he was the most powerful. So if he's really the most powerful, like, they're all acting. Well, what didn't in Loki season 1 the ending how that went? The one who remained, or what the hell they called him?
The one at the end.
Didn't he mention something about it?
What was his name?
Didn't they all cheer when they found out that he died? Wasn't that the
No, they
thing?
were just cheering because like they had said they were gonna like invade the multiverse. That's why they were all cheering. Because in Loki they explained that like the Kangs were like all of the Kangs were conquerors. It wasn't just that one.
Hey chat, pull up the ending of the end credit scene of
you. I'm not taking anything from you. I just like the fact that
you go, I can call you Mike the Conqueror. It doesn't mean Jack.
That's crazy. What I'm saying is that if I'm not mistaken, the end credit scene was like the three weird looking Kangs all talking about
and it was just them basically saying like we're gonna.
Okay, then
I think that's just how they discerned himself. Like that was the Conqueror, and then you could say like. If the Egyptian one died, they would be like, the Pharaoh is dead. But the Pharaoh's a cool name. It doesn't mean anything. It's the fact
that when they're talking about it, they're acting like the Conqueror is the reason why they can't do anything because he's the most powerful. Right? He's just going to stop.
No, because then they were all cheering in the arena. Because didn't they say they were going to invade the multiverse? And that's why everyone was like, yeah, and that's where we got that meme clip from.
I think we're getting on a rant.
Okay. I think we're getting off track because Mikey's getting really pressed about someone's name, a title that they were given, which means nothing.
No, that's not. That's not the frustration of it. It's not the title. Okay, the title just has to be his name.
It means nothing.
I'm getting at the end credit scene. I don't
think anybody acted like he was the best. I do not think that happened. I think you're just making this up.
I think you're making it up.
Guardians 3 came out next.
Say that again.
Great project. Guardians 3.
Oh yeah, awesome project.
We all loved
personally,
you love
my number 2. It's for personal reasons. I know it's not in there for.
I think it's great. I don't think it's better than the first one.
Right. Perfectly okay opinion. We both respect it.
It was great. Guardians.
Oh,
amazing project.
It's good.
Amazing.
It's not better than the first one. I still love it.
They've been able to keep Guardians like separate.
Yes.
And I think keeping them that way is a good thing. Don't bring them into a lot of things that they don't need to be in.
Will we ever see them again? Dave Bautista said he won't come back unless James Gunn makes a movie. So I don't think we're ever going to see the Guardians again. Unless we see them in branched off portions where like Star-Lord just shows up somewhere. Like I don't think we're ever going to see them again.
Well, because here's the thing. They said Star-Lord will return. They did not say the Guardians.
I think because he's on Earth now. So I think he could show up. I don't think we're going to see the rest of them.
I would... If we don't... I'm going to be honest here. If we don't see Drax, I don't think it's a problem.
No. I don't think we're going to see Gamora. I don't think we're going to see Nebula. I don't think we're going to see that little squad of like Rocket, Groot, and Sean Gunn.
That's the only thing I want to see is Rocket. Rocket's the only one I want to see.
Bradley Cooper doesn't have any more things on his contract with them.
True. I don't know. I feel like Gunn could, because Gunn loves making movies and he's
got too much time on his hands to go back.
I know, but at this point it's mainly like maybe not now, maybe not in 5 years, but maybe in 10. But
I just don't see it. I think the way they ended it, you could just say, and they all lived happily ever after, except for Star-Lord, and he started doing more stuff. I think you can perfectly write away all of them.
If anything, I would appreciate a cameo or something from Rocket every now and then.
But I don't know where you throw him in. So that's my
just
you could do them on
maybe,
like a collect call, like how they did in Endgame.
Like if there's a Star-Lord movie, and like he need like I can't
maybe
say
he shows up.
That's heavy spoilers. And he needs like moral support, and then like
what's
Rocket
heavy spoilers?
Huh?
We said spoiler warning at the beginning of this episode.
From Brave New World, hospital scene.
Don't remember what you're referring to.
Yes, you do.
No, not with Star-Lord. Oh.
In Brave New World. It's something like that. I need someone to motivate me. I need someone...
Mikey's not going to see this movie. We said spoiler warnings.
Okay, spoiler warning.
What?
This is another rabbit hole because this is one thing that I am...
Well, it's not a spoiler warning. If it's the thing I'm thinking of, they spoiled it when they released the Thunderbolts trailer at the Super Bowl. They put a shot that already said what are you saying?
When Bucky shows up at the hospital.
Okay, for context, like we said, massive spoiler warnings. There's a part in the movie where Sam is at the hospital because, I can't think of his name, Joaquin, young new Falcon, gets shot out of the sky. And so he's having surgery. Bucky shows up for moral support. Bucky is actively running for Congress. In Thunderbolts, he's wearing a Congress pin on his suit. So he's been elected between those two movies. He represents like DC or something.
Okay. My thing to that is, if we have such a gripe with like John Walker being Captain America, personally,
the Winter Soldier be a congressman.
Exactly. If I am in the U.S. government, if I am just a person in the Marvel universe, a part of the U.S. government, why am I voting for a 110-year-old assassin to be...
It's not like his war record and the Winter Soldier were kept secret. Ever since Civil War, everybody knows James Buchanan Barnes, the terrorist who blew up the UN nation and killed the king of Wakanda. And like everything's out there on like their internet. They all know who this guy is, and they still elected him into office, which I find hilarious.
No,
I find it hilarious too.
Bucky's name is cleared because they revealed that the terrorist was actually what's his name?
Baron Zemo. But that's not the point.
So they know that he's the Winter Soldier. However, they also know that he wasn't the one.
Well, the point is,
I kind of came into this conversation late because I was too busy focusing on something else.
But think about it. Think about it in real life terms. Granted, it is Marvel. It's not real life, and a lot of this is not real. But just think about it in somewhat of reality. This would be like
putting John Walker in office. John Walker was dishonorably discharged in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I think
John was innocent.
I think
but that's the point. It's like then electing him to be governor of DC. Like it doesn't make sense.
I think it's a humorous thing on Trump, because so many people.
It has to be.
So many people do Trump has like what 52.
I actually don't think it
convictions.
Could be, because if it goes on to be in Thunderbolts, this is a plot point they've been thinking about for quite some time.
Right. I don't know. I
think it lines up a little too well.
I think what bugged me was that we literally it was literally just like, is that Congressman James Buchanan Barnes? I literally stood up in my seat. I go, excuse me, what did you just say? Not that I'm mad that he's a congressman. I'm mad that we just dropped that and walked away from it.
I think it's going to be explained more in
he's
Thunderbolts.
Congressman. Well, that's where I'm like, whoa.
Which is another thing. He can't do superhero stuff if he's a congressman.
That's why I'm like, what?
He has a day job now.
I was like, are we going to take 30 minutes to explain this in Thunderbolts now? Anyways, that's off track.
It's a weird thing. Anyway, we
weird.
got Secret Invasion around the same time as Guardians.
Yeah.
Great premise.
Terrible execution.
They kill off Maria Hill in the first episode. Pisses me off.
Screw that. Maria Hill. I was so mad. As soon as you did that, you lost me. As soon as you did that, they lost me.
So mad.
I was done.
Emilia Clarke's character, I liked her. Final episode, it's the fan service, but everyone was confused by the fan service. At that point, it's literally like I'm
playing Disney Infinity on sandbox mode. That's what it felt like.
It made no sense in the final episode. It was fan service that nobody wanted or could understand.
I don't even know what to say to that.
The premise was there, and like by the first 2 episodes I was like, I like where this is going, and then by episode 8 I was like, what the heck just happened?
Well, because it's another thing of you're opening now the scrolls, like, oh my gosh, it's such a big can of worms. Like,
yeah,
and they did it in 6 episodes, brother. What?
And they thought we would all be okay with it because of how Far From Home ended, and we were still so confused.
It is too big of a topic to tackle, and you did it in such a you knew it was a big topic. You knew it was something that was going to be a large obstacle that you had to jump over, and you jumped maybe 3 inches. Like, oh my gosh. The one thing that I am also kind of irritated at is the roads thing. War Machine. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, because I'm trying to remember. War Machine has been a Skrull since Endgame or something like that?
No, apparently he's been a Skrull since Civil War.
Yeah.
So when he got shot out of the sky...
I'm waiting for Mikey to react for this.
When he got shot out of the sky from Vision, that is at the point where he is then taken in.
I was going to say, at the end of the movie, when he's doing physical therapy and Stan Lee shows up for his cameo, that's the last time we see James Rhodes.
No, at that point, he's a Skrull. Apparently, when he is unconscious, and from the PT, between those 2 scenes, he is then transitioned to be a Skrull.
So this must be a government thing. They must have a subdivision for like replacing people.
I don't know, but I get aggravated with that because now you're telling me that, and this was a whole thing on social media.
Everyone can be
glad I didn't.
Everyone
watch
on social media. Why you now have literally Tony's like best friend, maybe not.
Who he was having like emotional connections with.
Literally, and he doesn't know he's dead. That makes me mad because I love Tony Stark.
So
and I love Iron Man's
can't remember.
character.
Was it every single time he showed up on screen? So like in Endgame when he's dead and he like comes up and puts his hand on him, he's just like, "Dude, I'm a freaking alien. I'd have never met you in my life."
Yeah, like he's a Skrull. Apparently,
that's horrible.
None of it. I don't think any of it's really been like confirmed. But like there was like
wasn't this supposed to be where Armor Wars was going to tie in? Was that War Machine was somewhere doing like a spec op mission and like they were just using him as the Skrull as a public face?
Yeah. So
nothing's been Armor Wars.
Nothing's been confirmed. It was like a cryptic tweet that was sent out by like the director of one of the episodes, the episode that they brought back Rhodey in, and he was like, "Well, he might," and I was like, "So it's basically you're telling me that he wasn't there for Tony's death." He wasn't there for the funeral. He doesn't know anything that's happened since 2016. So he's like 10 years behind.
Yeah.
What?
I feel like I'm 10 years behind with all this.
That made me mad. Killing off Maria Hill and then telling me that Rhodes is 10 years behind.
I completely forgot about that plot point until you brought it up.
Annoyed me.
It also ticked off that like Amelia Clark and Ben Mendelsohn are great actors and they wasted them in this show.
Yep. Ben Mendelsohn I don't think was wasted. He did a very good job. Him as an actor is wasted because you could use him for other points, but he acted very well.
Next thing we got was The Marvels. Objectively, not a good movie. That being said, I didn't hate it until I wrote a review on it. When I sat in the theaters, I was like, hey, that was actually kind of funny.
It was
I think the chemistry works well. Another bad movie, short, stupid story.
Yeah.
The dancing plan was ridiculous. But like,
I think I like it more than you do, but I didn't hate the character.
No, like I didn't hate the character development. I didn't hate the ending totally. Again, spoilers. The movie ended with, is it Photon or
Kamala
Spectre?
Khan.
Which one is her mom? Monica Rambeau is Photon or Spectre? Okay, Photon. Her mom is Spectre. She's Photon.
I completely forgot about this.
Photon did some like supernova like charge up blast because the whole thing was based off of this is where Kamala Khan fits into the story because I couldn't remember
how end credit scenes. I forgot.
I'm thinking of one.
The
one I'm
going
to talk about. Okay, the way they tied in the Miss Marvel show to this, I completely forgot about this until now. Her bangles were the original interdimensional travel. If you guys remember the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, how they do the hexagons when they jump to light speed, basically. And because the way they describe it is you take point A and point B and you make the bridge and you smash them together. So that way they're right next to each other. And the gap closes and it's literally space-time travel as opposed to light speed where the ship is just going really fast all over the place. Kamala Khan's bracers were the original interdimensional travelers. They created the technology that allowed them to close the gaps between time-space. Did the bracers get destroyed in the movie?
No.
She still has them. Yeah.
Yes.
Something happened, and she needed to... The villain was, like, stealing planet juice to, like, fuel her own planet because the planet was dying. Like, that's the whole plot point. She closed them all.
Yep.
Because she had, with her powers that I don't entirely remember, and then, like, went supernova. And everyone's like, oh, she dead. She wakes up in the end credit scene in a different universe in a hospital bed, and she's like, where am I? And they're like, don't be afraid. And she turns over, and Beast from X-Men is there wearing a lab coat, and he's like, I'm your doctor. And everyone was like, what the actual heck is this? Because that just came out of nowhere. Nobody expected that.
And then there was Kamala Khan with...
Yes. Okay,
Kate
this is the
Bishop.
other thing we were trying to get into. Kamala Khan does a tribute to the Iron Man 1 end credit scene with Nick Fury, and she's like hiding in that warehouse from the Hawkeye show.
Yeah.
And Kate Bishop comes back, and she's like, I want you to join the Avengers that I'm putting together. And she's like, I got a bunch of technology from Nick Fury and stuff, and like I'm trying to restart the Avengers and just find like young people. So she's trying to build the Young Avengers under the eyes of Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. Or not S.H.I.E.L.D., because I think S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been disbanded. But like she's trying to build under Nick Fury's eyes the Young Avengers, basically. Right. Which I don't hate. I think that's fine. After that, we got Deadpool and Wolverine. We don't have to talk about it long. Story makes no sense for a lot of reasons. Ultimate fan service, fun theater experience. We agree.
It ended Fox. That's all you need.
It ended Fox.
It ended Fox. We're done. I think that was a good use of their time, because that was another thing that they had an open can of. Not that it was Marvel's fault, but it was still an open can that they had to deal with.
Yeah. So it was just tying up loose ends there. All right, now we're into only I've seen stuff. The Echo TV show.
Yep.
5 episodes long.
It's only 5?
5 episodes. It falls under a thing that they call... It falls under this thing they call Marvel Spotlights, which I think might become a thing in the future, where it's individual stories from side characters they want to talk about that do not affect the main story in the slightest. I think that's where they're going with this.
Okay.
You start the first episode, you finish it.
Why are you wasting money on this? Why?
Why is this? Why are we making like a whole series for it?
Why is that being funded?
Why don't we just make a series of this? Make it like an anthology series where each character gets one episode.
This is where I'm going with this. I think Marvel Spotlights is going to be the testing ground for bigger projects. This is the first Marvel TVMA project. I believe this is supposed to be testing grounds for Born Again. This was supposed to be, Disney make a level?
Year.
Can Disney make? Yeah, it was 2024. And it was
it was like January of last year.
Can Disney Marvel make a TVMA project? So that way when Daredevil Born Again comes out, we have the acceptable amount of violence. And I think that was supposed to be, but nobody wanted to watch the show, so they couldn't get really any feedback on it. Anyway, you watch the first episode, you're like, man, this is kind of decent. Second episode, this is really pretty decent. They have a weird subplot going on with like the Native American gods of the past, but like the main story is actually kind of good. Like it's not corny, it's funny when it needs to be, it's dark. And then you get to the third episode and you're like, ooh, I like the fights, I like the violence, story's losing me a little. Oh, Kingpin shows up, I'm back in. Episode 4, it's like, hold on, you're losing me here. It's like, where is this going? Because we had this plot line about her and stuff she was doing with her family, and then it was like Kingpin shows up, and then it was like, you're slipping all of a sudden. You're going back to like her past that we didn't care about, that you already wrapped up. Episode 5 is 20 minutes shorter than everything else. It's a half-hour episode to all of the hour-long episodes.
Were they drunk when they made this?
This last episode is horrendous. It is by far the worst TV Marvel episode by far. It's 30 minutes long. It does not make sense. It's the most Power of Friendship ending I've ever seen in my life. It's just a cop-out for them to end the show because they obviously ran out of money or didn't get enough money. And the only way this ties in is she has powers in the comics. They didn't get displayed in the Hawkeye show. She basically, like, her family lineage has, like, a blessing from, like, the Native American gods, which we know are technically canon from Thor Love and Thunder. Like, every ancient religion is technically canon in this universe. And so she gets, like, it's like a video game healing burst ability. And so, like, Kingpin tries to get her to kill him with, like, the hammer that he killed his dad with from the Daredevil show, and she's basically like, no, you need to stop, like, focusing on this. And then, like, with her powers, and she just, like, kind of, like, helps him tuck it away. And so at the end of at the very end of the show, he's sitting on his plane, and then, like, he's kind of thinking about, like, everything that just happened, and on TV is, like, the news in New York, and they're talking about, like, how all the mayoral candidates are crap and nobody likes them, and that's where he gets the idea to run, and obviously wins before we get into Daredevil Born Again. Right. Like I said, I think this was just a testing ground for Born Again, because the violence was acceptable, the, like, TVMA level of swearing was acceptable. It's like the things you want for a Daredevil show.
Okay, all right.
Agatha All Along, which also came out in 2024. Guys, this was a good show.
I watched 2 episodes and then lost me. And I didn't watch after that.
It's actually a good show.
Okay. I saw all the stuff for Wiccan, so I understand it.
For what?
For Wiccan.
Oh, for Wiccan, yeah. I thought you were saying Wicked, like the play.
Excuse me. No.
Wiccan. Wiccan, yeah.
Wiccan, sorry.
They don't hide his identity in the show. Billy Maximoff, by the time the 3rd episode ends, is outed as Billy Maximoff. Because the main thing that they're trying to hide is Aubrey Plaza's Lady Death, which they actually did hide until, like, the second to last episode.
I'm sorry, Aubrey Plaza is Lady Death?
Aubrey Plaza is naturally weird enough that she is a great Lady Death, and she's very good in the show because she's naturally creepy and weird.
We're talking
like
about,
the Lady Death who's in love with Thanos in the comics. Like, she is that Lady
Deadpool.
Death.
Like the weird love triangle between Lady Death, Deadpool, and...
I'm with you, Mikey. I didn't like that either because I was all about the comic part of it, and then they did that, and I go, excuse me?
Okay.
She is Lady Death.
Okay, I think the casting choice is phenomenal. I would personally, I would cast Aubrey Plaza as Lady Death as well. I would do the same damn thing. But
I think her introduction in the show made sense because of it's a very long plot point I'd have to describe, but basically, like, when this event happens, like, Agatha has a history of killing people and letting Lady Death harvest a soul based on a deal that they made, like, way back in, like, the Pioneer days. So it makes sense why she's in the show.
But the thing is, like, the only thing that Lady Death really ever did in comics,
I don't think she's ever going to appear
manipulate them.
I don't think she's ever going to appear again. But it makes sense why she was in the show.
To manipulate Thanos in Deadpool, Lady Death is essential to both characters' stories, and you change that for the MCU.
And how both of those characters are basically wrapped stories.
Exactly, and that's fine.
You're not.
But then you then
again.
bring in the big driving force for both of these characters, and have no connection to them in any way, shape, or form.
But they didn't need that. But I think it was fine. I will say there was one, like, the show was actually good. Mikey, you'll hate it. Joey, I think if you gave it another shot and, like, just binged it the way I did, like, you would be like, oh wow, this is actually, like, kind of good. Right. There is one part where she's like, all right, fine, I'll leave, like, Lady Death. And so, like, to just show her power, there's, like, it's not a green screen, but it's like a paper cloth background where it's, like, obviously, like, you don't notice it's a green screen until, like, they do something with it, or, like, it's a fake background. And she walks over and takes out her knife and literally rips a hole in the fabric of space and walks through it, and then they CGI it back together so it looks like it was never cut in the first place, like when the flap comes back, which was really cool in my mind. The main thing is, in WandaVision, the kids were real. Wanda actually created physical children. Those physical children had souls who actually died at the end of the show. In the show, the guy who now plays Wiccan was just a random kid who died in a car crash during that event. Billy Maximoff's child's soul body hopped into him, saving that body's life when the other soul perished. So that is how he's still alive. That's how they explain it. At the end of the show, Agatha helps Billy do the same thing for Tommy. There's also, so like, whether you watch Supernatural or like all the other stuff, there's like the void of souls before they go to the afterlife or whatever. He pulls Tommy's soul and puts it into another body. So Speed is out there somewhere in the body of like a 15, 16, 14-year-old kid. Speed is, and that's how Billy got his powers, was by body swapping. So by that logic, this kid now has speed, like he died, woke up in a new body, doesn't remember anything previously like Billy did. He doesn't remember this past kid's life. He only remembers the WandaVision stuff, but he now has speedster abilities. And then Agatha's also dead, but she's a ghost that hangs out with Wiccan. Or Wiccan. Okay. That's how it is.
Next thing, because I don't know if I'm going to watch. Maybe.
Now, I think if you just binge it all the way through, but if you like take your time, Mikey, you'll hate it. Don't bother.
Horrible show.
This is kind of just a speedrun now because we're out of MCU stuff, aside from Brave New World, which is going to be the majority of stuff. X-Men 97, one of the best things they've dropped since Infinity War. I need season 2 yesterday. You guys legitimately need to watch it. You don't have to watch the original show. It was so good.
I watched the first like 4 episodes, and it was so awesome. Good.
It's
and
so
good.
I
I just need to finish.
There is a plot point from the original show, but like they explain it very quickly.
It's explained so quickly. And honestly, you could go back and watch the final 2 episodes. Well, because like the plot point is
really, really weird. We said spoiler warnings. The plot point is that in the original show, Professor X like goes and lives with the aliens and like marries an alien, and like they just pretend he's dead. So and like on Earth, the X-Men just tell everybody that he died. But they explain it really quickly.
Yeah.
After that, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the newest project to come out, or second newest. It was supposed to be Tom Holland's origin story. They very quickly realized that they can't do that because nothing happened. He hadn't fought anybody. Yeah. He had such a boring introduction. So now it's MCU adjacent. It's in a different universe, but you can definitely tell it was supposed. You can tell it was supposed to be. This show is all over the place. It's one of those shows where like you watch a TV show, you know it's terrible, but you stay invested throughout the entire thing. The storyline is terrible. It makes no sense. And like there's I could talk about this for half an hour about how bad it is and doesn't make sense. But like, will I watch the next season when it comes out because they left on 5 different cliffhangers? If I get bored enough, maybe, because it's a fun, bad show to watch.
If I get bored enough.
It's a fun, bad show. I'll watch it when I'm sick. Okay. Newest thing. Captain America Brave New World. Joey and I have seen it. Mikey has not. Again, massive spoilers. In the trailer, the big thing that everybody needs to figure out, Harrison Ford says, I want to make Captain America a military position. That never happens in the movie. What he really says in the movie
I don't remember him saying that.
Because they used that as a front, because in that exact scene, in that clip, he's saying, I want you to remake the Avengers. To which Sam then replies with, what happens with we disagree on something, which was in the trailer, and they talk about the Sokovia Accords.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
because he doesn't want to make an Avengers that's going to be controlled by the government, which was the last Captain America's problem during Civil War with the Sokovia Accords.
Right.
So they go back into that thing. By the end of the movie, Sam has decided he wants to rebuild the Avengers. And the first person he invites is Joaquin, who is the new Falcon. So we have 2 characters. We have our Young Avengers being built with 2 characters, and we have our main Avengers being built. I doubt they combine each other. I think they're going to stay separate.
Maybe in Doomsday they'll interact.
Right. The other thing we need to talk about, the reviews are being blown out of proportion for this movie. It is not a bad movie by any means necessary.
It's good.
Is it a great movie? No. But
it's good.
It is a it's a popcorn movie. It's a
popcorn movie, but the thing is that
it wasn't bad.
Because it's Marvel, I'll say this. Because it's Marvel and because there's so much publicity around it, it got all of the attention that it was reshot.
This movie was reshot a lot.
No offense to this movie, you can tell it's reshot.
It's very obvious that they are shooting in parking lots with CGI behind them. They are plagued by reshoots. It's very clear. But it was still, again, in my ranking the Captain America movies, last by a gap. But it's not in the bottom 5 Marvel projects.
No.
It's not a bad movie. It took me a while. I literally wrote a pro-con list here, and the pros outweigh the cons significantly because I couldn't figure out where I was on this movie after I saw it. And I've come to the conclusion I may never watch it again, but I liked it.
My personal thing with it that I don't enjoy is that, and I guess Marvel's kind of good at this, but also like it makes sense, is they have great actors and actresses that come in and then they like kind of.
Are you
waste
referring
their
to Giancarlo Esposito?
Yeah, like that kind of made me mad. I love him as an actor, and I am so mad.
Actor. I knew going into this movie
sidelined.
that like I should expect nothing from him. I knew that going in, so I wasn't disappointed. The other thing is this character was supposed to originally be Seth Rollins from the WWE.
No, it was
or CM Punk.
No. It was Seth Rollins. It wasn't supposed to be his character, but you know that big bad that that fights him in the chapel, church, whatever. That's what Seth Rollins' character is supposed to be. The entire Serpent Society, or not the entire, but a lot of other characters within the Serpent Society
cut out of the movie for
was supposed to be in this movie, and I think the main villain was Serpent Society. And then they cut it, brought in the leader, brought in more of the aspect of the Incredible Hulk, and then that's where this came.
So
I don't think it's bad. I think it's.
I think there's a lot to talk about for this movie. The big thing is the leader.
We don't have time.
I liked the
That's
leader.
The thing.
Yeah.
There's more to talk about.
I liked Harrison Ford. I think the big thing is this movie came out at an unfortunate time in the world we live in. You guys have to remember, Sam Wilson always becomes Captain America in the comics when Steve Rogers is done. He gave him the shield in 2019. Politically, the world we live in, this movie is being perceived as a DEI move by Disney. It's not. This was made 6 years ago, this decision. They just never made the movie. We had a TV show about this, remember? And everybody seems to have forgotten that.
Isn't it 2029 in
I'm talking
Marvel?
about in real life.
No, I know, but in Marvel, isn't it 2029?
Yeah, they're ahead of us. Because there's a 5-year gap in Endgame. So I don't entirely remember.
I think it's 29.
But anyway,
it's
like obviously...
Well, because I think we had another time jump somewhere.
I don't remember.
Anyways.
But anyway, like, I don't like... The president... You'll get a kick out of this, Mikey. The head of security for the president of the United States is a former Black Widow.
Yeah.
Trained in the Red Room. That does not make sense at all. They knew that. It was very easy for them to figure out that information, and I immediately went, that doesn't make sense. She was born in Israel in the movie, they said. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense
at all.
I think the big thing is...
Goodness, if I'll ever actually had to watch
I didn't have expectations for this movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. The next steps going forward are big. I love Sam's relationship with Joaquin because it's very different than Sam and Cap or Bucky and Cap and Bucky and Sam. It's a completely different relation because like Joaquin always talks crap back to him. I'm excited for the new Avengers that they're building. That's basically all I said. And people are freaking out about the title sequence. They had to get into the movie. The pacing was so fast. They immediately had to set a tone and get into it.
As long as they don't do it to other projects, it doesn't bug me.
The next project that gets released is going to have the title sequence.
It doesn't bug me as long as they don't do it to the other things. There's a lot of things that I liked about the movie. I like that they're still keeping Isaiah in it, and I like that they made him. I like that they made him like he's just like a grandpa, and I enjoy that. So I'm glad that he's like a father figure for Sam, someone that he could, because he was thrown into being Cap. Let's be honest.
He's kind of like Unc to him.
Yeah, like he was thrown into being Cap. I wish that Sam were here to help.
Yeah, you can see the dynamic well between
Steve.
them.
I wish Steve were here to help Sam out, but he's not. That's where you get Isaiah. I think it works great.
I think it. Oh, I was gonna say Mikey really would have liked this because I was saving this from my review to talk to him about. They don't treat Sam like Captain America. He gets his crap rocked throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
He gets rocked by the Hulk. He gets rocked by normal people at the beginning of the movie and like breaks his ribs like at the beginning of the movie. Like he gets jacked up a lot. They don't treat him like a super soldier. And like they even say when he talks to Bucky, he was like, "Oh, I should have taken the serum." And then at the end of the movie, he was like, "Bucky's full of crap. I should have taken the serum."
Bucky's full of shit. I should have taken the serum.
I like that they're not treating him as an indestructible being. Like,
I like it.
Yeah, you have a little bit of plot armor to beat the Red Hulk, who's not as strong as Hulk.
Wakanda armor,
he's not strong.
Helps.
Yeah, he has vibranium armor. He's not strong and durable as normal Hulk. So like it doesn't not make sense.
Right.
And like the fact that you treat him like a normal human being makes sense. The fact that this guy, I saw someone else make a point about this. This guy is a military veteran. He led like mental health stuff for veterans. This guy is a tactician born leader. He knows how to lead the Avengers. He should be the next leader of the Avengers. It's not because he's Captain America. It's because of who he is.
Yeah, I agree.
If Bucky became the Captain America, or if Bucky got the shield at the end of Endgame, I wouldn't want him leading the Avengers.
No, if anything, I'd want like Stephen Strange.
But that's what they were saying. Like Stephen Strange is the most powerful, but he's a jerk to everybody. He's a smartass.
Thor's the most powerful. Doesn't mean he's.
Thor should not be leading because he's still a bit of a meathead. And so that's what they were saying. And so I completely agree on that's why he should be the next one. And so it's like, who is he going to bring in? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a bunch of, I mean, could go on for a while. We can mention future stuff in the future. We kind of talked about like Shang-Chi and Blade a little bit. Like the Ironheart show was supposed to come out a while ago. I think the show's been done for years and they just never released it. It's not going to be good when it comes out.
I know it's
the
out.
The villain they chose is terrible.
Like August or something?
The villain they chose is terrible.
Right,
nobody cares about the character, but she's probably going to be a part of the Young Avengers at some point in the show, which is probably why it hasn't come out, because I bet they reshot an end credit scene of Kamala Khan going to find her.
Wakanda Forever.
And she was very annoying in Wakanda Forever. And then the other big thing is Daredevil Born Again. They dropped a new teaser today. It looks fantastic. I'm so excited for it.
Agreed.
Thunderbolts looks funny, and that's all it has to be. So I think that's really that's
the rest of Phase 5. Fantastic Four starts 6, and the only other things that we know that are going to be in 6
Secret Wars and
Doomsday, Secret Wars, Spider-Man 4, Wonder
Blade.
Man, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, Blade, Vision Quest
series,
is supposed to be in there,
and then Shang-Chi 2, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think Doctor
at
Strange
some
3?
point, Doctor Strange 3, and then whatever this Young Avengers TV show is that's supposed to happen, that'll eventually come during that. Because it doesn't sound like these people are going to be involved in Secret. Like, we're not going to see Kate Bishop, it seems like, in Secret Wars Doomsday.
I think once we see... I think we should revisit, like, the future when we get to Fantastic Four.
Because we'll have a lot... Well, we won't even have that more news. That's like 5 months, not even 5 months from now. That's 4 months from now.
But I feel like at that point they're going to need to start doing something.
We need more news of the future without them promising things is the big thing. They promised us Blade, and they strung Marshall Ali along for so long. He's pulled out of the project indefinitely because he's sick and tired of the crap Marvel's giving him. Because they've rewritten this from top to bottom 7 times, I think.
So I say we revisit when it comes down to Fantastic Four, which I know we're all going to be seeing together.
Mm-hmm. I think the big thing we need to take away from this is people are being overdramatic about the state of Marvel. Is it the way it was in the first 3 phases? No, but it's a different scenario. You're not starting from ground zero. You're starting from you're going up a different mountain.
You're starting from tier 12.
It's arguably a harder mountain to climb at this point. And you're not you're trying to start halfway, you're going down, and you're trying to stop yourself and go back up. Like, I give credit, a lot of the stuff they've done, we've gotten some good quality in both phases. We've gotten a lot of it, and people just like to forget about that.
No, just
like
a word
you got
from
anything
our
before we
sponsor,
head to the
Green
game?
Hill Casinos and Resorts. Not much to say about them, but thank you for sponsoring today's video.
And our disclaimer every
they
episode.
Sponsor us.
We don't know who they are.
I don't know what I'm being paid for them by.
Getting into the game. Welcome back into the game segment. What are we calling this? Connections? Is that what we're calling it?
Because it's simple and can't be trademarked.
Connections it is. I lost last week to Brayden, so now it is Brayden against Mikey. I have come up with one connection from actor to actor. They have to come up with it in the shortest amount of time with the shortest amount of guesses. We're doing it based off of
like
movies, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, whoever wins will stay on. I will face them next week. Your actors are Val Kilmer to Mads Mikkelsen. We are back to Mads Mikkelsen to Val Kilmer, or Val Kilmer to Mads Mikkelsen, however you did it. Brayden claims that he has done it in 3. Mikey has given up. So Brayden, hit me with what you've got.
Mikey, how many movies did you get to before you gave up? Or did you just hear 3 and said I couldn't do that?
I started with...
Because I want to know where you went.
The problem was, I was trying to... Because I'm like, I know there's some sort of movie between... I started with Val Kilmer. I had Val Kilmer, and then I went from Val Kilmer to Uma Thurman and Batman. But then I kind of went, well, I can't really do anything with that. So then I thought, well, Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise and Top Gun. And that was the thing, is how do I connect Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer? And I had it wrong, okay? Because I was like... I then went, well, I can do Mads Mikkelsen to Daniel Craig in Casino Royale, and then do Daniel Craig to Ana de Armas in Knives Out. And Ana de Armas is in another James Bond movie. And
she's in a James Bond movie.
And I was like, shit, no, it was No Time to Die she was in. And then that's when you said I did it in 3, and I went, well, then there was no point for me even going to try, because I'm not even anywhere near that. Exactly. I will.
You're going to hate yourself. Guess what 2 movies I used for part of my 3?
It's the James Bond one.
And it sucks because you haven't seen these movies, but you had the right idea. You had the right idea. To do it in 3, you have to go through James Bond. But it sucks because I just watched these for the first time very recently.
Oh, okay.
Here's my path. No. Mads Mikkelsen, Casino Royale, Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright's a recurring character in the series. Jeffrey Wright was in No Time to Die with Ralph Fiennes, another recurring character. Ralph Fiennes and Val Kilmer were in DreamWorks Prince of Egypt. DreamWorks Prince of Egypt has the most stacked cast ever, with Val Kilmer playing the lead as Moses. So I started there, and I started with Val Kilmer and said, okay, I have like basically a multiverse ahead of me. Like I could go Jeff Goldblum, Sandra Bullock, Ralph Fiennes, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. Like there's a billion people I could choose from in that movie.
Remind me, was it based? Is the points based off the actors or the movies?
It doesn't matter. I won.
No, but I found a new way that I think is shorter than yours.
I've done it. The internet, after I finished, I looked it up. You can go Val Kilmer to Ralph Fiennes in Prince of Egypt, and then Ralph Fiennes straight to Mads Mikkelsen in Clash of Titans, which I haven't seen.
Well, I found this one. Val Kilmer's in Willow with Warwick Davis. Warwick Davis is in Rogue One with Mads Mikkelsen.
If you're doing connections...
Val Kilmer was in Willow?
To settle...
I haven't seen that movie in a very long time.
However, we constantly...
Well, no, Warwick Davis is the lead. But he's the main like dude with the sword, right?
Actors or movies, and it should be actors, because we're connecting 2 actors, and we're attempting to connect actors via other actors, just with... Well, yeah,
but it doesn't matter, because it's always going to be whoever can do it faster.
The original one I had was Val Kilmer in Top Gun with Anthony Edwards, who's in Zodiac. Which RDJ is in, who is in Oppenheimer with Alex Wolff. Alex Wolff is in Old with Aaron Pierre, who is in Mufasa the Lion King with Mads Mikkelsen.
I was trying to figure out if I could do a short connection with Mads Mikkelsen, but Jeffrey Wright's not in the live action Lion King movies, because I was trying to figure out if he was, but it's I can't think of what his name is. It's one of the other actors. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm thinking of Bryson Tyrone Henry. I think that's his name. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But anyway, the game is over, and so is the episode. Let's not waste the nice people's time anymore.
So next week it'll be myself versus Brayden. Mikey, you have the next connection to make.
And I am now tied for the longest winning streak in this game show, or in this game's history.
You are now tied for the longest streak. So maybe next week you'll win.
You got to come back and defend yourself.
Make sure to like,
I'm
going to build a dynasty.
Smash that ring bell for notifications. And as always, 1 second. I forgot where I wrote down our Patreon. and go on to our Patreon.
We don't have a Patreon.
Stay tuned.
So with that being said, good night and goodbye.